today we are going to be talking about the hottest watches that I've seen this year. All right, so let's crack straight in. First on the list is the Hamilton Khaki Field Mechanical Power Reserve. This was released about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I have to say, it is gorgeous. Now, they released 2 iterations of this watch. You have a black dial or you have a white dial. Both come with the option of either a NATO or a bracelet, and both of these models come in at 40 millimeters in diameter. This is actually a brand new size for the Hamilton Khaki Field range, and before I go into the details of this watch, one of the most common problems that I find, especially when I'm working in Chisholm Hunter with new collectors, is that they overwind their watch, and that actually damages the mainspring. It messes up the whole watch, so do not overwind your watch. But having this central power reserve is a clear indicator of when you're going to overwind your watch, thus preventing the damage. I actually have a Grand Seiko, and it has a central power reserve function, and it's probably one of the most handy, useful things that I've used on a watch. This watch comes in at 40 millimeters in diameter, 11.95 millimeters in thickness, and has the new caliber H23 movement. This is manual wound with 80 hours of power. It comes in full stainless steel with 100 meters of water resistance, and I just think that this is such a welcome extension to the Hamilton Khaki Field line. And honestly, I've got the Hamilton Khaki Field Mechanical, Hamilton Khaki Field Expedition, and I really want this model. It's just so clean. It's so cool. This new Hamilton watch comes in at £760. All right, so next up we have the Seiko Prospex, the SPB 519. It's worth saying that not all the watches on this list are new. They're just the coolest watches that I've had in over the last year. So recently I actually took this watch to Iceland to film it, and I genuinely believe that it's the sexiest Seiko that I've ever seen. Not purely, that's maybe over-egging it, but the bezel is unbelievable. This watch comes in at 42 millimeters in diameter, 13.3 millimeters in thickness, and 48.6 millimeters lug to lug. It comes in full stainless steel, has brilliant refinements to the bracelet, and that's something that we as Seiko fanboys and a Seiko fan base have been asking for so long. So I'm so glad they finally upgraded that bracelet. You have micro extensions on the fly, which help so much. It has the caliber 6R 5/4 movement, and this is plus 25 to minus 15 seconds per day in terms of accuracy, and it has approximately 72 hours of power. The water resistance on this model has also been upgraded to 300 meters comparatively to my Seiko that I actually own. I'll put that on the screen at the moment. But the refinements they've made to this Seiko, although small, although subtle, makes such a huge difference. And I still love my Seiko. I'm never going to sell it, but this was so sexy. And the bezel, the way that the bezel changes in the light and contrasts with that whitey silvery dial, and then you have that bold flash of red with the GMT hand, and also the fact that it's a GMT, so you can travel with this watch. It's one of the sexiest watches that I filmed this year, period. This Seiko model, however, does come in at £1,600, and I know for Seiko guys like myself, that does make them quiver a bit. It does, but I think it's worth it. Okay, so next on the list is a weird one because James actually converted me to this watch. I wasn't anti this watch, but I was kind of adverse to it until I saw what James did to it. This is the Grand Seiko SBG A413. This is the Shun Bun. It comes in at 40 millimeters in diameter, 12.8 millimeters in thickness, and lug to lug, you're talking around about 40 millimeters. It comes in full high intensity titanium, which gives it a more dark aesthetic than stainless steel, and it's light as a feather, which is awesome. It comes with the caliber 9R65. This is a spring drive movement with 72 hours of power. It's water resistant to 10 bar, weighs a pretty insane 102 grams with the bracelet. But this is just what I want to talk about. The bracelet on this watch makes it, to me, not wearable in everyday life because I would be scared to scratch it. I would be scared to damage it. I would be scared to wear it. And that makes it not really an everyday wearer to me, so it's not as attractive. But what James did, and he showed me in Iceland, is he switched this to a NATO strap, a kind of tanned beige NATO strap. And because he did this, he wears this watch all the time now. And it looked unreal on the NATO strap. And it's just something that I've never thought to do. I've never thought to look at a Grand Seiko and switch it to a NATO strap. But in doing so, you open it up to so much more wear time, to so much more wrist time. And this dial, the way that the pink hues and it kind of sheens and changes in the light, with the fact that it's an everyday wearer, is just... This model comes in at £6,300. The next watch on the list is another one that actually got released this year. There was two in particular. You have the beautiful burgundy dial that we're going to talk about, but you also have this kind of champagne-y gold dial with light blue accents. This is the Vacheron Constantin Perpetual Calendar Ultra Thin from the Overseas collection. And that burgundy dial, oh my God. This new model comes in at 41.5 millimeters in diameter, a stunning 8.1 millimeters in thickness. It's water resistant to 50 meters, has a beautiful open case back, comes with a red rubber strap or a white rubber strap, or if you want, you can keep it on the bracelet, and it comes in full 18 karat white gold. So this is hefty, it is very heavy, and also the price point is also hefty because it's a Vacheron and also it's full white gold. You're getting a huge amount for your money. The movement in this model visible through the open case back is the reference 1120QP/1. This is entirely self-winding, has 36 jewels, 276 components, and 40 hours of power. Now, this watch does come in with a hefty price point of £106,000. So yes, it's not for the faint-hearted. Yes, I'll probably never be able to afford it, but it's still going to be on this list because I just thought the burgundy dial was insane. It's seriously such a big Vacheron fan. To me, they sit in the top of the Holy Trinity. The next watch on the list that I fell in love with was the IWC Miramar. Now, two variations of this watch were released. There was the ceramic variant, which is ceramic in this kind of blue color, which is the Pantone in which they collaborated with literal Pantone to create. It's this really light shade of blue, but it's hard to describe unless you get it on the wrist. The model that I definitely prefer is not the ceramic, it's the stainless steel. I think that the stainless steel feels just a little bit more me, if I'm honest, and I do love the way that the stainless steel contrasts to the blue. It makes the blue pop that little bit more, drives your eye to the blue that little bit more. So this is the Pilot's Watch Chronograph 41 millimeters, and it obviously comes in at 41 millimeters. It comes in at 14.5 millimeters in thickness, and it comes in full stainless steel. It's fully automatic with the caliber 69385, and that has 46 hours of power. To me, it's the perfect line of classiness and youthfulness. This has a really young feel, but it doesn't polarize the older audience members out there or the more, watch veterans out there that like more simplistic stuff. And I do like that because I feel like when watch brands do want to go younger and they want to kind of make something big and bold, it polarizes a lot of your audience because let's say you make a bright fluorescent pink watch like the Miss Piggy from Morris. It was cool, but it definitely polarized a lot of people. This watch comes in at £5,900, which is pretty incredible comparatively to the ceramic, which is much more expensive. The next watch on the list that I managed to get hands on with this year it really blew me away, and I didn't think it would because I'm so jaded. I'm so jaded with people talking about Rolex that sometimes I kind of deliberately go out my way not to talk about them or not to look at them because everyone talks about them all the time. But the thing is, there's a reason that everyone talks about them all the time. Because they're awesome. This is the Rolex Daytona with a brilliant white dial and a black ceramic bezel. It comes in at 40 millimeters in diameter, 11.9 millimeters in thickness, and 47.6 millimeters lug to lug. It has a water resistance of 100 meters, has the caliber 4131 in-house movement with 72 hours of power. And I actually spotted this watch I was filming for a Lamborghini tour. And there was a gentleman that had it on, and I quickly snapped a couple of photos and said, "Can I look at your watch?" He was actually a really, really nice guy. We still keep in contact today, and I fell in love all over again. I really am. There's a weird thing that happens with Rolex that I am jaded that people talk about it so much, but they're undeniable. They really are. They're amazing. Now, if you're to pick one of these up on the secondary market, because the odds of getting it in the primary market are very, very low, you're talking like, I'm going to say 28 to 32,000 pounds, depending on box and papers, condition, etc., etc. So yeah, it ain't cheap for a steel sports watch, but it's a Rolex. Okay, so the next watch on the list isn't a new one again. It's actually fairly old now. I mean, maybe 5 years old. God, I mean, it was definitely getting on a bit, but it's still as beautiful as the day they created it, and it's This, when I got this into the studio, finally, because I've been looking for this watch for years, let me just talk about it. This is the Omega Speedmaster Anniversary Series Snoopy. It comes in at 42 millimeters in diameter, 14.47 millimeters in thickness, and has a lug-to-lug of 47.5 millimeters. It has the Omega caliber 3861 movement, which surprisingly and interestingly is actually the same movement that my Apollo 11 has, and that has 50 hours of power and is Coskin METAS certified. Now, everybody knows about the Apollo 13 mission. I don't think I need to explain myself. And I do have a video going over this in detail about the history and why the Silver Snoopy award was awarded to the watch. It's super interesting. It's a cool video. I'll link up here or down here if you want to see that. But really what got me about this watch was the beautiful, insane amount of detail on that case back. I mean, you have the moon at the top layer, then you have Snoopy going around in his rocket in the second layer, then below that you have the stars and the earth, and also the quote, eyes in the stars. It's just, the case back of this watch is just as much of a work of art as the front of this watch. It's insane. Now, they're obviously extremely hard to get, these watches still. They don't make many of them at all, and it comes in at £10,000. The next watch is a watch that people, it's interesting. See, with Tudor have a release. There's a huge boom, and people forget about that release really fast. And it's weird to me because I don't forget about the releases because I see the watches every day and I love the watches every day. So I don't know why this one in particular was kind of, people have started to move away with it, because when you actually look at it, what they've done here is insane. This is the Tudor Black Bay 54 Lagoon Blue. This watch comes in at 37 millimeters in diameter, 11.2 millimeters in thickness. It's waterproof to 200 meters, has a stainless steel bezel. It has 70 hours of power in the MT5400 COSC certified movement. The Black Bay 54 as a range of Tudor watches really only has one other alternative, which is the black dial. So to bring out something so bold and big as the second watch that's really been released in the range is kind of insane. And they executed it perfectly. The depth on this dial, the kind of sandblasted feel to that blue dial combined with that stainless steel polished bezel, making it pop that little bit further out, is incredible. I really like it. Now, yeah, this watch will be a scratch magnet. There's no doubt in my mind it will be a scratch magnet. But I really enjoy things that are that little bit different, that little bit more bold. You can never imagine Rolex doing something like this. It's very Tudor. It's very, I hate to say this because it's literally Tudor's catchphrase, but it's very daring. This watch comes in at £3,590. Next on the list is the watch that you have a chance to win. And yes, I am including it because I was unbelievably impressed with it. I actually took this watch to the Maldives and I filmed it in its natural environment. Super cool video. I had so much fun filming it and it blew me away. This watch comes in at 40.5 millimeters in diameter, 14.1 millimeters in height. It's water resistant to 300 meters, comes in full stainless steel, and it does have a NATO strap. I would opt to pair it with a NATO strap. I think that's so much better, so much more, like kind of rugged feeling. I think that the bracelet needs refinement. The NATO strap is perfect. And also the NATO strap is made from totally recyclable material, which again, cool detail. The movement in this watch is the automatic Powermatic 80 that we can also see in some Tissot models, and it comes with 80 hours of power. Now, the interesting thing about this watch isn't really just the specs, it's the shock resistance of the DS concept. So the DS concept stands for double security concept, and they've refined it in this model. And the shock resistant is so shock resistant, if you want to say that, it actually broke the shock resistance machine when they were testing it. So they've got an assumed shock resistance, but they think it's way higher purely because of the fact that it broke the machine, which is insane. And also, when you're talking about a £765 watch, you honestly can't beat it. I think this is the best affordable dive watch that you can buy, period. All right, next up, we have the Breitling Top Time B31. Now, this was released around about March of this year, and they released a couple of different variants. So you have a blue variant with a white border. You then have a green variant with a black border, and then you have the one that I would go for, which is with the white center, and the outer color is a baby blue color. Now, you do get the choice between a leather strap, a brown leather strap on this specific model, the white dial, or the bracelet. The brown leather strap, although typically, and I know I'm contradicting myself here, although typically I say that I don't like leather straps, there was something about this one that fit much better on my wrist. Can't put my finger on why. If any of you guys know, then please let me know in the comments. But it really fit better on my wrist. And also the look of it, the brown with the white and the baby blue, the color combination, yeah. I've said insane a lot in this video, but I suppose it is a list of the best watches that I've reviewed. So yeah, it was insane. This watch comes in at 38 millimeters in diameter, comes in full stainless steel, is water resistant to 10 bar, has the Breitling caliber B31 movement with 78 hours of power, and that's entirely self-winding. And it comes in at £4,550. I'm just looking at the next watch that we're going to talk about, and you guys are going to hate me because I've spoken about it a lot, but I'm going to speak about it again. This is the Tudor Black Bay Pro white dial. So this year at Watches and Wonders, they extended the Black Bay Pro range, making the polar dial, or the white dial, well, it's not technically white, it's more opaline. So they made the opaline dial Tudor Black Bay Pro, which I've been asking for this since they brought out the original Black Bay Pro black dial. Now, I have said this a couple of times, but I'm sticking to my guns here. When the channel hits 100,000 subscribers, thanks to you guys, by the way, because that's an amazing achievement, and thank you for coming on this journey with me. The watch that I'll get, and I still want, is the Tudor Black Bay Pro to celebrate that moment in time. I think that watches are great kind of sentimental objects in our life that we can look at and be reminded of a time. And when I look at this, I want to be reminded of the time that the channel hit 100K and I can tell my parents that I actually do a real job. So the Black Bay Pro comes with either a stainless steel bezel, a NATO strap, or you kind of get this rubber leather hybrid strap. It comes in at 39 millimeters in diameter, 14.6 millimeters in thickness, and it has a fully automatic caliber MT5652 COSC certified movement with 70 hours of power. To top that off, it's waterproof to 200 meters, has a beautiful stainless steel bezel, which is part of the reason why I love this so much, and it also has a GMT hand. And I do a lot of travel, photography and videography. I'm actually getting a new print for the studio very soon. Long story, but I do a lot of photography, and through that, I do a lot of travel. And actually, let me show you something. I had to get Jags today. I was such a brave boy. I'm not sure if you can see that. I don't know. They might need to cut off my arm or something. It's pretty serious. But that's because I'm going to Namibia, and I'm actually on a photography trip in Namibia. On that note, I'm actually filming some cool watches there, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, the reason I want this watch so bad is because it screams and speaks to me personally. I'm obsessed. I really am. It comes in at £3,730. So the next watch I'm going to talk about is an interesting one. A pal of mine called Matthew, or Matt, in Iceland had this watch on. He's a watch collector. He's an incredible guy. He had on this model. This is the Omega Seamaster 300 meters quartz. And it was actually the first ever Seamaster to be featured in a James Bond movie. It was featured in James Bond GoldenEye with Pierce Brosnan. And this totally blew me away. And I think part of the reason that it blew me away is because the bezel on this watch is actually an aluminium. And over time, aluminium bezels get kind of dusty. They get kind of like, I don't know how else to describe it, but dusty. They kind of get faded, and they look vintage, and they pick up wear and tear, and they look just loved and worn. And it's something that you don't get with ceramic, even from the King. I'm willing to say that. That's something that I would prefer on this watch, but it doesn't have it. Ever since I saw him with that watch, I can't really get it out of my head. And I feel like the deeper you go into your watch collecting journey, the more you like vintage watches that have been loved and that represent a moment in time. Now, on the secondary market, of course, based on condition, box and papers, etc., they come in at about £2,000. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have enjoyed, please hit that subscribe button or follow our Instagram at Chisholm Hunter Watches, or my Instagram at HB Lifelens. And yeah, these watches were in, or the podcast. I forgot about the main podcast is our podcast. I'll see you guys real soon.